If you look at the agreement, and I'd like to answer the agreement with what I like to term another term, as you keep on learning term, about the legitimacy of the government in line with the electoral timeline as the agreement required. The legitimacy of the government is questionable by 22nd June of this year. And the legitimacy is questionable because per the electoral law, which is part of the peace agreement implementation, on 22nd June, Honorable Chairperson of Electoral Commission, Professor Abednego, have to declare elections. So the moment you declare elections, what does that mean? By practice, it means the business of the government is suspended. So government is no longer in function. So if comes June, there's no election, it automatically, question of the government legitimacy will come to question. They may dodge, but there's another deadline they cannot dodge. Which deadline? Deadline of 22nd December 2024. If there were no election conducted between the period of 22nd June to December 2024, the government loses its credibility of recognition as a government in the Republic of South Sudan. So what does that mean about? And that is a very good green patcher for opposition to say, now we don't consider you as a government and you're no longer legitimate and we have all possible ways to do whatever we want, which I think any party in the current government want to avoid that. And specifically since they have tested the sweetness of sitting in a government which is big in size, that's going to be there. Maybe I can say based on this answer, will option of extension be possible? I don't think extension is going to be possible. Why? Because extension will be a political suicide for the president. Because His Excellency President have mentioned in several public events, no more extension. His speech of graduation of the Unified Forces, his speech of the rollout of the roadmap, his speech of the close of the year 2023 and open 2022, open 2023, his speech during the reconstitution of the institutions that we have seen right now, and his speech of the close of the year 2022, 2023, 2024. So all these speeches, and even his address on the UN Security Council, are not ready for extension. It means any extension become a suicide mistake. It really is a suicide, political suicide for the leadership of the country. So they will be opposed to elections. The question comes is the will for accepting electoral results, do the political parties have or not? That is for me, the fear is that if the political parties want to calculate a game of winning the elections in an undemocratic way, it's actually a call for the country to turn back to violence. And that's why we've been calling them that there's a need to open windows for civic and political space to exist. Are the parties ready for elections? I feel the parties as institutions are compelled by the agreement to go for elections. But individuals in the parties are calculative. Should we go for elections or should we not go for elections? If we go for elections, should we succeed or not? What are the indicators? One of the indicators of their calculation is the 5%. The idea of the 5% coming that if I go, I fail, I need to be appointed. And that's why as a civil society was saying the 5% per the law is meant for people who will never contest elections, but will be appointed. Who are they? Minority group. We have different minority groups across the country. We have people like veterans who may not go to contest. We have people like aged persons who are aged. Or maybe we may have a South Sudanese one across the country that have a very big knowledge, like Kim Jong-un, to make for us nuclear weapons. Then we need him in the parliament. So that's that rare knowledge. They should be benefited from the 5%, rather than a politician who went to contest and failed and need to be appointed. So the appointees of 66 of 2010 election should not dream that they're going to come back through 5%. No. That is completely a violation of the electoral law. And that's why we are calling for rules and regulations to be very clear to explain that. What is political will? Political will, it means nothing. Political will, it means you accept the agreement to be implemented as you commit yourself by your signature. Now, what we have, per now we have seen, is a selective will. And the selective will is always a balancing of a political game between your personal interest and the public call. So you weigh, what time can I avail these so that my personal interest is not jeopardized by availing the public interest. So political will is always, you respond to what is called public interest. That's what we term as a political will. If you're able to respond to what public want, that is a political will. But the moment you tend to be calculative and selective in responding to public opinion, that's not a political will, and that's not a political commitment. And actually that you are showing lack of political discipline and you're political immaturity. And we've seen, and across on our actions across the country as we are running the country businesses. But of course, our appeal now goes to the leadership of the Electoral Commission. As election is concerned, it's no longer the question of the president, it's no longer the question of the first vice president, it's a question of the Electoral Commission. Can they take their will and demonstrate? If they didn't give them money, let them come out and say, citizen, up to now, we have no money. Don't expect us to perform miracles. So that we say, okay, who is supposed to give the money? Then that's why we go back. But the silence of the Electoral Commission on coming out public, and actually my appeal in this particular press conference, I will ask the Electoral Commission to have regular media briefing. Let them not be locked commission. Let them be a commission that is open for media briefing to inform the public exactly what is going on, so that we as a public, we can demand the political leaders to commit themselves. Otherwise, if the Electoral Commission maintains silence and restriction, and that's why I'm one of the person who is really seriously calling on the current leader of the Electoral Commission that he should establish a proper media desk that is access to information around the electoral process.